Whispers in apartment 313. It started with a whisper, not loud, not even clear, just a breath brushing past her ear at 2:43 a.m. Julia woke up in the dark, gasping like she'd been pulled from deep underwater. Her chest was tight, her sheets damp with sweat, but the silence in the room was heavier than her own heartbeat. Then she heard it again, a whisper, behind the wall. She sat up in bed, not moving, not blinking, listening, but there was nothing. She had only moved into apartment 313 2 days ago. A cheap, furnished place in a city she didn't know, trying to outrun the wreckage of her old life. She needed silence. She got something else. The building was ancient. The walls were thin. At first, she told herself it was a plumbing, pipes, or a neighbor talking in their sleep. Anything but what it felt like, something trying to speak directly to her. The next night, it got bolder. No whispers, just her name. Soft, long, stretched out like a breath. Julia. She stood completely still. The sound had come from the other side of the bedroom wall. But that apartment, the one directly next to hers, was empty. The landlord had said so when she moved in. 311? No one's been in there for over a year. Not since the incident. He didn't explain. And she didn't ask. But now, she wished she had. Because the voice, it knew her name. And each night, it spoke a little clearer. You came back, it said on the fourth night. Then, why did you forget us? By the fifth night, she was afraid to sleep. She left every light on, played music, sat in the middle of the room, gripping her phone like a weapon. But at 2:43 a.m., the lights dimmed. The music stopped. The air went cold. And the whisper returned. Don't you remember the room behind the wall? That night, she found a small door hidden behind the closet paneling. Old, painted shut. She never would have noticed it if the light hadn't flickered at just the right moment. When she pried it open, she found a box. Inside, a torn photograph of a young girl standing in the hallway of the building. A name tag from a preschool she didn't recognize, with her name on it. And a small doll, cracked, missing both eyes. Her hand shook. She tried to remember if she'd ever been here as a child. Had she? She called her mother the next morning, her voice barely steady. Did we ever live on 8th Street? In a place called Ridgeview? There was silence on the other end. Then her mother whispered, Where did you hear that name? Julia hung up. That night, she dreamed of a hallway. Endless. Dark. Doors lining both sides, each marked 313. She walked past them all, and at the end stood a mirror. In the reflection, she saw herself as a child, smiling, but her eyes were black holes. Something behind her moved, its hands slowly reaching toward her shoulders. She woke up screaming. She tried to leave the apartment that morning, but the door wouldn't open. The lock turned, the knob twisted, but it wouldn't budge, like the building had decided it wasn't done with her. Her phone didn't work either. No signal. The windows wouldn't open. Time began to blur. She found herself sleepwalking, waking up in different parts of the apartment, standing in front of the wall, her hands bloody, dirt under her nails. One night, she found scratches on her arms, not self-inflicted. They were small, like a child's fingers. The whispers grew constant. You forgot us, Julia. You were the first. We waited. On the seventh night, she snapped. She took a hammer and began tearing into the wall, clawing through layers of plaster and insulation like she was digging up a grave. Behind it, she found another room. Same layout, same furniture, but older, dust-covered, like time had stopped. And on the bed, a woman, pale, motionless, dressed exactly like Julia, eyes open, staring. It was her, but not her. This version of her was dead, her lips slightly parted. And from that mouth, a whisper escaped. You never left. Julia staggered back. She looked around. The room had no door, no way in, no way out. She turned to run, but the wall behind her was gone. There was only darkness. And then the lights in her own apartment flickered. The clock read 2:43 a.m. A week later, a new listing appeared online. Apartment for rent. Furnished. Quiet building. $600 per month. No pets. No questions. And somewhere, the walls of 313 began to whisper again, waiting for the next name to remember.